In this episode, I can finally tell what the coolant temperature is in Project Below Fairmont. Welcome to the channel. My name's Grant Tommy. This is Straight Six Fan, and today we are trying to patch up the Ashtray gauge pod on Project Below Fairmont. And thanks to Jegs Performance for coming through and making it right on their gauges. Apparently any Jegs branded product they have a 1-year warranty on. So I was past the 90-day exchange window. I think I've mentioned this in previous videos, but we got that. If you watch the live stream, we got the brand new gauge right over there in that yellow box. If you watched the live stream on Thursday, I mentioned that. But we already got the water temp gauge back into place. I've got everything wired up. The pod is in place. So we are now just going to go start fishing the probe through the firewall. I cut that, I don't know how many episodes ago. But also put the grommet in the firewall as well. So we will do that and then hopefully get this probe set up. Now, you might notice things are a little cramped in the garage today. I haven't moved my wife's car out because we got snow once again, and I haven't shoveled the driveway, so I really would rather shovel the driveway first before I, you know, when you drive over it, it just like packs that snow, it turns that into ice. So I guess I just don't have the motivation to go shovel the drive yet, but I should probably do that. It's gonna get down below 0 tonight, so Project Below Fairmont's gonna go outside tonight. So that way the old Tacoma is a little warmer when I get in the morning to go to work. But yeah, we're trying to patch up at least the water temp gauge here. Thanks everybody for last week's episode. Yeah, for giving me advice on the oil pressure sending unit. That I was in the right spot. I need to buy a T-fitting though, because I kind of do want the dummy light in addition to the gauge. It's not necessarily because I think I need both. It's just I like to maintain things. If they came that way from the factory, it's just a rule of thumb. Things tend to work better when you just leave factory things in place for the most part. I guess there's exceptions to that rule because I want to disassemble some smog equipment. So I guess I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth here. But it's just kind of, you know, my approach on this car is keep it as factory as possible to some extent, but make it secretly sneaky, kind of cool, and you know, that's what the gauge pod is. It looks like it would have come from the factory that way, but those black face gauges make it look a little sportier too. Anyway, let's just get to work. I'm blathing on too much. One thing you guys haven't seen yet is I did redo the trim pieces with that thicker metal I found at the end of episode 4, I believe it was. Of this Ashtray gauge pod playlist series, whatever you want to call. I like these a lot better. I think they're I don't know. I think it's just much closer in thickness to like what we got going on other pieces of the dash. So anyway, and then after your guys' comments from, again, lost track however many episodes ago, someone made the comment of how, you know, the natural trim rings being chrome match like the knobs on the radio, and I think I agree with them. I think this is how I'm going to leave it most of the way from here on out. Now, one thing from doing test fit after test fit, you can see there's a little gap up there. I've lost the little kind of spring back ability of the of this Ashtray, so I'm going to buy some like Velcro or something to put up top just to keep it snug up against the underside of the dash. Okay, so simple thing, word of advice. When I bought this grommet, I bought it for 3/4 inch hole, which is the inside diameter, which is what I drilled through the firewall. But obviously, this has its own thickness, so it wants to be bigger. So I would have had to have drilled like a 1-inch hole or something. So anyway, just because all I really need to do is just protect the wire, I cut a little wedge out, so I'm going to let it kind of close up on itself. And I found it's easier to install from the engine bay side of the firewall than from the inside, so we're going to do that. But anyway, just a little hack job tip or trick, learn from my mistake, I suppose. So deep down in there you can see there's the cut grommet and the probe coming through. Now you might notice how close I am to the exhaust manifold. So what I think I might do is take some of that manifold heat wrap I got from the Rat Rod Radio Flyer exhaust and wrap it as it's close to in the proximity of the manifold. But by and large, happy with the way it's turned out. So yeah, no big deal. Now I kind of have no worries about just pulling this on through, having that grommet in there. So we will get this fed up to where we want it, and we'll go from there. Alright, so here's a fun one. So the probe is too long, it's hitting the thermostat. And the only other fitting included in the Jegs kit is this guy, but the too wide a diameter here to fit in that housing. So I guess I'm going to go to the auto parts store and see if I can find a fitting like this that accepts the threads of the probe, but also has the same size threads on the other end. So I don't know. We'll see what the local O'Reilly's has. I think I'm going to go shovel the drive first, because I just have this feeling I'm going to come up empty-handed at O'Reilly's, but we shall see. So anyway, let's go put off the inevitable, I guess, maybe? I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so I'm horribly backlit, but that wasn't so bad. We didn't get all too much snow, but like I said, if I don't do it, it turns into ice. It takes longer to melt, so that really wasn't so bad. But yeah, if you don't know, I live in like a duplex or a townhome, and so I try as hard as I can not to use my back. You saw a couple of spots in there where I had to. So I usually push 2/3 of the snow off my drive and 1/3 to the middle, but let's go to O'Reilly's now. Okay, so now that the driveway is cleared, I could back the wife's car out. We got more space now to work, and did go to O'Reilly's, and they did somewhat have, they had the right fitting, kind of. The problem is that inside it's more of like a radiator hose adapter or a brake line or something, so it necks down. So I'm gonna get my caliper out, figure out diameter of the probe. I'm gonna attempt to drill this out now. Hopefully that works. I don't usually like to do, you know, a jerry rig, as they say, things like this, but I kind of figure what's worst thing that can happen. I mean, I'm not going to drive a ton of miles on this. If it's the wrong solution, I will figure out how to get the right adapter. It just stinks that Jegs didn't include that in their universal kit, because while it's at O'Reilly's, I saw one of their mechanical water temp gauges, and of course it had the right fitting in there. I was really hoping the gal behind the counter was going to offer to let me buy that out of the kit, but I totally understand why they didn't. Now, I did ping the budget a little bit buying this adapter, but similar to how I sent back the gauge, did the return, I've got this cash gift card. My mom gives me these for my birthday. There's usually, I think, like $25, $30 on them. This one was partially used, so that's how I sent back the, did the return. I paid for the postage with this, so nothing to the budget. But then I ran it down to zero buying this adapter So it was like 8 something, and there was 501 left on this card. So anyway, this means I've got a little bit of skin in the game. So I'll give you a budget update. Okay, so this episode's way out of whack, way disorganized, way everything. It's discombobulated to say the least. But budget update, as I promised. When we started this episode, we were at $1,631.36. And that new fitting I bought, only out of pocket costs were $3.72, which brings the new project total from the original $4,000 budget down to $1,627.64 left. So there you go, there's the budget update. Okay, so it probably ended up being closer to 3/8 of an inch than the 11/32. So we got that drilled out. One thing I want to say, if you're a first-time home buyer, you're going to buy Teflon tape, and that's what I'm going to need that for this job as well. But Teflon tape is sort of like a, well, as the name implies, it's tape made out of Teflon, but it becomes like a compressible sealant gasket kind of material. So you wrap around the threads of like brass fittings like this. It's a plumbing kind of thing, but it's going to help you prevent leaks. So I need that for my task here as well. So we're going to Teflon tape this up, get it in thermostat housing, and then get the probe in. And I think we'll call it a day then. So the reason I mentioned the whole first-time homebuyer thing is because I bought this, I'm pretty sure, when I moved into the place, which was 9 years ago now. And I can't tell you how many things I've actually used this stuff on. And I'm pretty sure this is still the original roll. So it you know, it doesn't take much. You see, I've just kind of gone around the threads once. I'll go kind of like 1.5 times. And it's kind of like duct tape. You can, you know, just tear it. It is nicer to just cut it with a knife. But, yeah, you just kind of like roll it around and then just mash it into the threads. And there you go. Like I said, it sort of acts like a gasketing type compressible kind of agent. So once you thread it in, you get a watertight seal. Alright, so I'm a little uneasy about how much of the threads I'm still seeing on both of those, but God, they're tight. They don't really want to move much further, so I'm going to take it for a test spin, see if, I don't know why, I just have a gut feeling that it's going to leak. I don't, maybe that's just because of all the thermostat housing issues I had. I don't know, I feel like it's gonna leak, but we'll see. If it doesn't, then I'll tidy up the wire management. There's a wire here previously attached to this AC line, so I think I'm just gonna try to zip tie in together and run kind of just parallel to it. There's another one right here. So anyway, it'll go under the air cleaner and run along that that line, and then I've already got it zip tied back here to a brake line, which helps because it brings it up and away from the exhaust manifold that we worried about from the get-go. Okay, so here goes the cold start. We'll get this thing warmed up, see if we can read some temps. We'll see if we're leaking. I probably have crud all over my face. It seems to happen when I videotape. Happened last week. I usually do, let's do half a pump on the accelerator. See how it goes. Nope, wasn't enough. Full pump, there we go. Alright, we'll back this out of the garage because it's gonna stink things up. I can't figure out, and this will be probably for another episode, but I can't hardly figure out if it's running too lean or too rich. Like I said, we'll get into that in a later episode. But we're gonna back this out, let it idle for a bit. We'll check it for leaks, because that thermostat probably isn't even gonna open up here for a bit. So anyway, let's let her idle for a bit. All right, so while we're waiting, let's double check, make sure our, oh sweet, our lights work, but not this one. So yeah, yay, yay. All right, that's fantastic. Because 2 episodes ago. Is this one that worked and that one that didn't? Okay. Alright, so the gauge is definitely working, so that's good. Starting to worry there for a while, although it is like 18 degrees or something out. So, of course, it's going to take some time. Now that I can monitor the temps, I can take this on a prolonged drive and just run it out of gas, so I can drop the fuel tank and fix the sending unit, because of course we've been on this amount of fuel for ever since I bought it. So anyway, well, it would appear my worst fears did not come true, so it looks like it's not leaking, so thank goodness. That's fantastic. But hey, also wanted to remind you guys, if you haven't caught a Car Guy and Six Fan Show, that is the weekly live stream with myself and Jason Carr of Old Car Auto Guy. His channel's up over in this direction, but we flip back and forth as to who hosts it. So this Thursday, 7 p.m. Central, it is over on his channel. If you're not subscribed to him by now, go ahead and do that over that area. Find his channel, subscribe it. And then set the reminder. So Thursday nights, 7 p.m. Central. That's 8 Eastern. That's 6 Mountain Time. That's 2 p.m. Hawaii time. There you go. But let's wrap this thing up. All right, so no leaks. So that's awesome. I'm happy about that. I did about probably 10 minutes worth of between starting the thing and driving it. Let it idle for a while, and the hottest it ever got was about 175, and that was idling. Of course, you know, with the outside air temperature being what it is, of course, it's probably going to be hard to really accurately test it out. You know, I'm sure that's affecting it quite a bit. I think the outside air temperature is like in the teens, so when I'm moving, I'm sure it's really cool in that antifreeze down in the radiator, but we got up to about 175. I think I bought a 180 degree thermostat. It's pretty standard, I think. But anyway, feels good to have that done. I noticed in the beginning screen, I didn't mention my tagline, that being budget-minded, relatable, creative builds. But hey, thanks for tuning in. You know, for as down as I was on myself for last week's episode, it actually had really good watch time. This one might actually be worse than last week's episode, but I thought I had some actual action going on. It stinks. This is cold. I'm taking my sweatshirt off to promo the Ashtray 6-fan Pistons tee. Of course, link in the description below if you want one of those. Check out my Spreadshirt store. Every time I open this garage door, of course, even though I've got the heater on, you know, if I got it up to, say, 58, we're all the way back below the 50 mark. It got down as low as 44 there for a while, but yeah, time to start cleaning all the mess up, get cleaned up, start editing this up, pull the Tacoma in the garage since it's going to be like -2 overnight. But that'll do it for this episode. Thanks, guys. If you liked it, like it. If you aren't subscribing and you're kind of curious what Project Low Fairmont's all about, subscribe. If you think somebody else might like this episode, share it. Like, comment, subscribe. Comment. Oh, if you feel like you need to tell me something, comment. So there you go. Now I've covered all 4. But that'll do it for this episode. Until next time, peace out.